Now I want you guys to think about this. The way that you're feeling, Amber, the passion you feel about this, the passion that I'm sure you guys feel about the moments where you've been stereotyped. When you look at somebody that you don't know, and when you maybe stereotype someone or judge them, I want you to think about how that person would feel if they knew the stereotypes that were being tagged on their back. Think about that person. Think about the world. If we, the stereotyping causes so much hate and anger and puts wedges between people. And if we as mentors are there to break down those barriers, break down those wedges, pull those stereotypes off of people, and show class and show people around each other that we are all the same, that we are people with feelings and emotions, and we are more than just a person who dresses like this, or a person who likes this music, or a person who drives this car. There is way more to every person we pass in the hallway or pass on the street than we think. And I want to further facilitate this discussion, but we don't have really any more time. But I want you guys to walk away from this, and I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the way people feel, the way that stereotypes affect people and who they are. Can stereotypes, whether for good or for bad, push people to become something that they're not? Whether out of fear or out of frustration, or out of pride, because they're proud of the stereotypes that they have. I have money, I have power. Think about that. Because stereotyping, there is danger and there's power in stereotyping. And I want you guys to consider the feelings of every person and try and help those people who are being those victims of stereotypes. But do you guys have any questions for me? Or anything that we've talked about? Or any of the last comments before we end?
I guess my question is, how do you do it right then? How do you and I kind of see two scenarios here. Either I stereotype people wrong, but when I find out who they really are, and kind of keep an open mind of who they are, when I find out who they are, I accept them. Would that be a better way of doing it? Is there another way of doing it? What do you recommend with stereotyping?
That's a great question. I think about that often. The first thing that I try and do is I try as much as I can to not put any judgment on anyone. I don't care what they're wearing. I don't care who they are. I try and stay as far away from a preconceived notion of who somebody is. And that's hard, because I still do it. It's a natural thing to do that. But it's not about what you see. It's about who that person is and who they are. And I've been wrong so many times in my life about people. And when I take the time to get to know them and talk about their interests and listen to them and feel their emotions and know that they are a person who have dreams, they have goals that they want to achieve. Every person has the initial desire to do good and want to help and please people. And you've got to find that in every person. You have to find the good.
I wonder if we stereotype because of our own insecurities and worries about how we might be perceived if we approach that individual, of any awkward feelings that we might feel. And yet that's our problem, our own insecurity. And yet when you think about, in its purest form, someone could be totally yelling at you, and yet that's the humanity in them. And we recognize that we have our own humanity. And really, it's a cry often for help and love. It's just not coming out that way. And what they really need is someone to care unconditionally. Those are some things that I wonder.
I think those are great points. I think also stereotyping can be turned on yourself. I think you can stereotype yourself for a situation, know a way that you may react to the situation. And I think that goes back to the discussion we had last time about betraying yourself and who you are. You know, you have these gifts and these abilities, and you write these positive things about yourself, but in a situation, you start to put labels on yourself or label on that person on how they're going to react to you. And you start to, you know, maybe tear yourself down and start to pull those talents and those abilities out of your mind because you think, man, I don't want them to think I'm weird. I don't want them to think I'm like stepping into their zone, so I'm not going to do that because then they're going to think I'm this, and that's going to cause me to get frustrated. And it's just chasing the rabbit down the hole, you know.
Notice the self-betrayal in that commentary. So it's all about you, and yet you're going against your natural inclination of being kind or sensitive to others or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So, to go to the core of it, isn't it all about insecurity? Like, is it our insecurity that actually is allowing us or making us stereotype people? Isn't it not our insecurity that allows us to betray ourselves and others? I mean, isn't that the core? Is I don't feel like I'm this perfect person, so I have to do this, or I have to do this, or I have to be guarded around this person because it's insecurity with me. So how do I get rid of my insecurities?
That's tough. That's a difficult thing because everyone, no matter who you are, has insecurities. And that's something that requires a lot of self-reflection. I mean, you have to be self-aware of yourself and your insecurities. And I think that you need to accept them. And while it's challenging to do that, and it's challenging to whisk away your insecurities, it just comes down to caring about the person and don't worry about yourself. You know, I try to do this, but try and focus on what they need. What are their insecurities? What do they need help with? What can I do to help facilitate this person in their ability to be successful with school, their relationship, their confidence in themselves? Try and turn that on them for good and help them. And I think that that will help you organize and sort maybe some of your insecurities, because you'll realize from helping that person or group of people, wow, actually I helped that person. I can see that that group of people is happier. That makes me feel good about myself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not the way I thought.
I think as long as we do that with the right motives, and not to say, look at me, I'm helping so-and-so, but that you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And that's it. In your heart, you know that that's right. And you're acting on that right, that impression to do what's right. And not to wear it as a badge of courage or of look at me, but it's just the right thing to do.
And I think that's a great point as well, Darren. Going back to what you said, insecurity seems to be a massive motivation for stereotyping. But could stereotyping also come from the other side of the spectrum? Pride. Maybe a person themselves feel secure with themselves and they feel, man, I'm where I want to be. I've got a good family, I've got money, I've got a beautiful spouse, or I'm really successful in school. Like, why isn't that person taking more control of their life? Why don't they care more about how they look? I mean, I feel great. They need to have this, could that be a possibility? Could that stereotyping come maybe from that internal factor that I feel great, they need to feel the way I do?
Well, I think whenever you're trying to put yourself on a level higher than other people, that's when pride comes into play. Or when you put yourself on a level beneath other people, you're also kind of being prideful as well. And I think it's weird but necessary mental shift to realize that we're all equal, but we're all individual, and it's kind of a paradox, but it makes sense. We all have the same amount of worth. We all have the same amount of potential, and it's our job to look outside of ourselves and see past our distractors and how much we want to just solely take care of ourselves. And it's the coolest thing like ever. But when I do get out of my me box, when I get out of that, and when I'm willing to focus on other people's, that's when I feel happier, and that's when I feel like I'm more of a man that I feel like I need to become. And I feel like God needs me to become when I step outside of my me box, sort of thing. Just interesting. I feel like that's so much what this whole class is about. It's about getting past accepting yourself, but then getting past yourself and focusing on other people so that they can have that same mental shift, and then we can cause like a tidal wave of goodness that just goes out.
Absolutely. And
Go ahead.
I just want to close by saying that, I mean, while keeping all of this in mind for the mentor, our position and our role as a mentor is important, I invite you guys, and I hope that you take this a step further and apply it in your life. Everything that we've talked about, the way that you felt when you're stereotyped, apply that in life, shopping in the mall, or going and getting gas and seeing somebody in a situation where you probably would have labeled them or stereotyped them. Maybe stop and look at that person and think, man, what is their story? Who are they? Where do they want to go in life, and what are their talents and abilities? What can they achieve? And try and melt that natural tendency that we have to just